gonna talk through all the different things because Sharon, we still have to. Sorry, was someone rustling something?
I was typing.
Oh, okay. So I could just hear like a sort of like almost like someone's rustling paper right beside me.
Yeah, I just touched a bit. I did touch a bit of paper. You're sensitive today in your toast.
I seem to be hypersensitive, dude. It's the whole thing about almost being 40. Everything.
Right.
I can feel the crotchety old man in me rising. I'm like, stop that noise.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Hello, Happy New Year! Welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that asks that question, Netflix or cinema, do we have to make a choice? Is one taking over the other? What is going on in this new battle for our eyeballs? My name is Tosin and I am your host. I am based up near Coventry in the Midlands. And joining me as ever on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hiya.
How are you guys doing? Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you too.
Yes, we're doing well. I think I've dried out. I'm not sure, but I think I've dried out.
Dried out?
It's been so damp this week.
This week.
I think I'm turning into a sponge.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've got so wet that I'm just absorbing water now.
How's your bike, by the way?
My bike?
Yeah,
that has disappeared. There's no trace of it.
Oh, wow. Well, that's all right then. You never know.
Even the scar's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Even some old scars have gone. So I'm quite impressed with antibiotics.
You're not a spider. You're not a Spidey man, are you?
Oh.
Not going to be a Spider-Man.
I hate them anyway, but I haven't discovered any new abilities.
Oh, that's a shame.
So you said how's your bite?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said how's your bike?
Oh.
I was like, what? I was like, someone, when he said it's almost gone, it's all gone, I was like, wait, someone stole your bike? I was like, what the? Oh, no. It's the
My
bite.
wound.
Yes, your wound from the false widow spider. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, Sean, good spot there. I did not spot, even being a film podcast, I did not spot the possibility that we might have a very own Spider Woman.
Yeah, I have not discovered any latent abilities that are suddenly revealing themselves.
What's that bit of wet?
Yeah, none of that. Or maybe I should just go around going and let people guess what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I guess the problem it would be a bit like Spider-Man would be a bit wasted on the Isle of Wight because there are no tall buildings to swing from.
No,
I think the tallest is like 5 stories or something.
It is, yeah.
So imagine that Spider-Man being on the Isle of Wight going, it's not fair. I'm going to have to move to London.
Yeah, this is boring.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to walk between houses.
All right, cool.
We've got a lot on today, haven't we, Toast?
We have got a lot on because obviously this is our first one back after Christmas. We've had 2 weeks. It feels like longer that we've had that off. And of course, we have used that time wisely. We have gotten ourselves into the cinema. We've gotten ourselves into TV. So it's going to be a bit of a long one today. Okay, first of all, I'm going to let you in, to all of you who are listening, I'm going to let you into a little bit of an insight into the Netflix versus cinema world. So every week, sometime round about maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, Sean, usually you first, you send a message saying, I've seen this at cinema, and I've seen this on Netflix. And we go, oh, okay, cool, I've seen this, I've seen this, and we're trying to figure out what it is we're going to be talking about on the show. I am going to read some of the messages that we sent out this week on the Netflix versus cinema WhatsApp group. So Sean starts off by going, okay, so I'm going to do the podcast of my place. I have seen Cats, The Gentleman, Jojo Rabbit, and Bombshell at the cinema. The Two Popes on Netflix. I was like, okay, cool. And then I come up and I go, I've seen Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, Cats, Spies in Disguise, a preview of Just Mercy in cinema. On Netflix, 6 Underground, Vox Lux, The Crown Season 3, BoJack Horseman Season 6, Tell Me Who I Am, and on BBC iPlayer, His Dark Materials. And then Sean goes, oh yeah, I forgot I saw some of 6 Underground, the first rubbishy car chase and a little bit more after that. I said, and then Sharon pipes in and goes, I've seen Little Women and Star Wars, blah, 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 Skywalker at the cinema, and The Witcher, Virgin River, The Bonfire of Destiny on Netflix, and Harlots Season 3 on Amazon Stars, and finally Vienna Blood on iPlayer. Phew! To which I replied...
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, to which I replied, I knew I forgot something. I have also seen The Witcher. So
that's a lot of television.
Yeah,
that is a lot. Yeah, so carry on, Sharon, what were you saying?
I was going to say also. I watched quite a lot of DC Universe films again. I thought, well, I'll give them a sec. But they were on, and I thought, well, I'll give them a second look, and I'm very, very forgiving of them this time, and it just reinforces my view that I shouldn't
Sometimes
go to
watch films
twice, and not go to midnight. Not go to midnight performances.
Well, I've had 2 weeks off work, so it's 2 weeks off work, and then 1 week of that, both of my brothers were away.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I had the television and sole possession of the remote.
Oh wow! I bet.
So I did get to see, whole seasons.
That's cool.
So yeah, I was like, way.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I just realized Sharon also answered after we said that. You said we're gonna need a bigger boat. So
yeah.
Okay. So now, Sean, you have been. Okay, we were speaking. I think just before. Well, I'm not sure whether after we pressed record, but we were speaking about how this year we all have end of decade birthdays coming up. So
yes,
we are all going to be turning ages that end in 0. And Sean, the fact that you said you started mellowing out towards some of these sort of like DC Universe movies, especially you mentioned the fact that you had quite a good time watching Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Perhaps. Yeah, no, that was okay, that one. I must have watched Justice League then.
Okay.
Because it was a Justice League.
Okay, that's better.
Because that's the one I really liked. I mean, I didn't mind the Dawn of Justice one. I didn't mind
Batman Spider-Man one.
The Batman Superman one.
Oh, Batman.
Yeah.
Batman,
it was better than I remembered, but the Justice League one, I think I didn't like that, but I really quite thought that was pretty good.
Oh,
this time. So yeah.
Okay. Then that makes what you said on the WhatsApp group a little bit more forgivable because Justice League is better. It is better than Batman versus Superman. Because you were thinking, I quite liked it. I just replied, no, Sean, no.
No, you did. It's on there.
How can you? Yeah. Bad Sean, no.
Yeah. You see, because I mean, they were. Oh, of course, yeah. Dawn of Justice, and the other one was Justice League, wasn't it? It was Justice League, the one with the mother boxes and things.
Yeah. That's Justice League. That's Justice League.
Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Whew.
Confusion reigns.
Oh, good Lord, sure. I was.
So no, I am my grumpy self.
Yeah. You had me worried there for a second, Sean. You really had me worried.
Sorry, Toast.
Right.
I like to present a bit of consternation.
Okay. Cool. I will recover from that, but we need to move on. So
yeah.
So there's a lot to cover.
There is a lot to cover, but before we go anywhere, Sharon, when we did our last but one podcast of the year, because we did the last regular podcast of the year, then we released the chat that we both had with Holly about Charlie's Angels and about gender representation and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, which we did. I really, really enjoyed that chat. But when we saw that one, you had to leave the room because we were about to talk about a film that you did not want to be spoiled and you had not seen yet because you were trying to hold some semblance of being a normal person and having a life, and therefore you were not in a midnight screening. So
yes.
So you have finally seen this film.
Yes.
Yes. We are talking
Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Yes. So I apologise. I still haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast where you discussed your views. So I still don't know what your views are.
All right. So
what you rated it.
Okay. But very quickly. Okay. Now that we've all in here, and to be honest with you, right now, I'm a little bit not that bothered about spoilers because, quite frankly, I think if you listen to this and you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, you just don't care. You don't.
You're not going to. Yeah.
You're not going to.
You'd have seen it by now, wouldn't you? I mean, it's been
maybe when it comes out.
You'd have seen it, but if it so happens that you haven't seen it, and you still plan to go see it in the cinema, then you might want to avoid the next 10 minutes or so. But Sharon, what did you think of this film?
I'll give you my. I'll do it in reverse order. I'll give you my star rating first.
Yep. Go for it.
And I would give it a 3 stars.
Yep.
I would say it's not bad as a film goes, but I was left feeling slightly underwhelmed when it was finished.
Yep.
and I was left feeling slightly underwhelmed by the conclusion. Yep. I mean, this is going to be like the last ever film released under the Star Wars banner. Is it? Or is it not?
What was that?
It's obviously not. No,
was that you? Was that you, Toby?
That was me. That was me.
That was you. that was. Wow. We wondered what that was. We looked at each other like, oh my goodness.
That was me giving a derisory laugh, a derisory. Yeah, like this is going to be the last Star Wars movie. But anyway, sorry, carry on. Let's assume.
Yeah, well, of the 9, I don't know what you'd call a series of 9 films. There's not a
nonology, something like that.
Nonology.
I don't know if that's a word.
They're not named nonology.
They're not very good.
I was just feeling slightly flat by it. I mean, I wasn't keen on the ending because they were talking about all the way through. They talk about balance between the Sith and the Force in the Force. You know, with the Jedi and the Sith battling out to get, and their aim was to create balance. And then what do? They sort of basically destroy the Sith.
Yeah.
And so where's the balance in that? There's no accord. There's no balance. It's just like one side.
That's really deep, Sharon.
You're left with one side, are you? So I thought, where's the balance in the universe here?
Wow.
Well, that was one of the themes going through the whole film, wasn't it? About achieving this sort of black and the white and achieving the balance and achieving harmony. And yet one side dies. It's like, okay, so the bad guy dies and now you've got balance. No, you haven't. You can still have the same. If she has any children in the future, which may be unlikely because there was like they build up to this potential for relationships through the last 3 films.
Yeah.
And then it's like, fooled you. I'm just going to wander off in the desert on my own. You're thinking, but if she doesn't have any future children, then they're still going to have that conflict between Sith and Jedi.
Yeah.
Because she represents both effectively, doesn't she? So I was thinking, you haven't actually resolved anything by this ending. You've just left it. To me, it was just a bit like, ugh. And so, but that aside, I mean, I just thought that was just made a nonsense of a lot of this sort of whole epic battle thing that's going on.
Sorry that I'm laughing.
I just thought there were aspects of it that I would just felt as a combination of like 30 years work or 40 years of work. To me, it was just felt a little bit. A bit.
Do you know?
Yeah, whatever.
I've got to come in here because I've just got this vision. I've had this vision ever since I've seen the film of how they could make it all lovely and sparkly. Because you know when those
Jar Jar Binks.
No. But you know when they land on that start in space.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I want to see the horses. I could just see them sort of as they come out of the spacecraft, just sort of going up in the air with all things like little unicorns. You know. Yeah, I know it's really weird because that really, that was probably the biggest bug that sticks on my mind is you're in space, you're in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You know,
I know how they deal with that.
They weren't in space. They weren't in space at that point. They were still on that
planet. Yes, they were. They must have been. They were when they was on that. I mean, you couldn't have a star destroyer in the atmosphere. I don't see. I mean, it was dark.
Oh no!
As far as I was aware.
It was at night. Yes, but they were because remember at the beginning of the film, the star destroyers come up from underneath the ground.
Wow, right. I don't know. As far as do they? Yeah. Oh right.
Well,
okay.
And also, I wasn't quite so au fait with the fact that every star destroyer now has a planet destroying capability. So from going to being like the Death Star to being like the ultimate weapon, suddenly the ultimate weapon is not the ultimate weapon; it's the standard weapon. What then is your ultimate weapon? The Universe Destroyer.
Yeah, but I mean, all those they made those. They made those star destroyers, the triangular ships, out to be like nothing, you know. And there was hundreds of them, whatever. And also, they race across from one end of the universe to the other. Sorry, Sharon, I'm relaxed.
Well, it's just one of those things. You just feel
one minute that Poe Dameron or whatever his name is in the middle of somewhere, and then the next he's managed to get back in time for Leia. Now I know there's light speed, and you travel at light speed, but I'm sure there must be light speed and light speed. There's got to be, you can't just sort of transport yourself, you know.
No. It's not teleportation.
Like Star Trek.
So I just felt that as someone who grew up with the Star Wars, that's like the first film I saw at the cinema was Star Wars, which was later became Star Wars: A New Hope, but it was just Star Wars when I was a child, and so I saw the first 3 films in my childhood, so they do leave a lasting impression. Mm-hmm. The second 3, which the prequels as they were called, largely left me untouched because I was just not in the right age group to really appreciate them. And so these ones I thought, okay, I'll invest in watching them again as it's like the end of a of a generation's sort of, cinema going effectively. And I've just felt, I can't see, at the end of it, I'm thinking, I would ditch 6 of the films and just be left with the original trilogy, quite frankly. I think the others haven't really added a lot to the actual story that was told in those 3 films. Yeah. And I don't think these last 3 films actually have added much to the whole storyline.
Yeah, I mean, Sharon, I think I couldn't agree with you.
What was your star rating anyway?
3.
Yeah, because both Sean and I gave it a 3. Both Sean and I gave it.
Yeah.
And pretty much what you said. I mean, I walked out feeling just mega disappointed. I walked out feeling just going like, oh, for goodness sake, because I quite like, and I know we argue and disagree on this, but I quite like a lot of what The Last Jedi did. And I feel like when you said about these films not adding anything new, and I think because essentially 2 of these films just keep going back to the original trilogy and stealing everything from the original trilogy. I mean, The Force Awakens is a remake of A New Hope. This one, I mean, why the hell is the Emperor back? Why is he back? How is he back? What is he doing here? And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, let's just go back. Remember that thing in the 70s you liked? We're gonna give it to you again. Only this time it's gonna be like a microwave meal. It's gonna be reheated and not that tasty. And it's so essentially, after I watched this film, I've actually just. I've sort of almost actively avoided saying anything, because the more I talk and the more I think about it, the more I just start thinking, this is just.
Let's draw a line under that one.
Well, that's it. I think it's one of those films that, like next year, if you asked me about the film, I'd be like, can't really remember much about it.
Did you get? By the way, guys, sorry, have you still got your Cineworld pass, Toes?
I've got.
Have you still got?
I've got an Odeon one, yeah.
An Odeon one. All right. Well, they sent me. Did you get an email from them saying how many films you'd seen?
I haven't looked. I might have done.
I got an email from them. I saw 153 films last year. Now I can only remember a handful. Yeah, 153 films, and they gave me a couple of sort of.
You must be like a class as a super fan.
Yeah, it says, "Oh, you have done." Let's see if I can. So, I mean. Yeah, so I was quite surprised to get the message, really.
But because we were sometimes at this time of year.
Here we go. I'll read it to you. Hey, Sean, 2019 was a great year for you. You reached over 100 movies, and it actually come and tells me how many I've got. 153 films.
Wow.
I say, so that's a hell of a lot. My favourite movie snack was Pick and Mix. And you enjoyed unlimited action movies. There you go. So just shows you how much. Look at that, 153 films. That's bizarre.
Okay,
I wouldn't have thought I'd seen that many.
Sure, that's 3 films a week. Which when I say that way, it doesn't actually surprise me. That does sound like you, but
yeah.
But the funny thing about this, right, is that there's a friend of mine, Benga, who and I've got to say he's got to listen to this episode. This is hilarious because his big achievement for last year, for 2019, was that he saw 100 films at the cinema. He has a Cineworld card, and at the beginning of the year, he set himself the challenge of seeing 100 films at the cinema before the end of the year. He managed to make it to 100, and he is wiped out. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so tired. I can't believe it." the fact that you have just gone and sailed past him by 1.5, it's just it's such a slap in the face. It's beautiful. I'm gonna have to tell him. I'm like, dude, this is hilarious. But no, I've actually been looking for something like I've been trying to figure out if Odeon has something in which I can figure out how many films I've seen this year. But so far, I haven't seen anything. But I have to say something from Holly, a London correspondent. Now, I decided for this first one of the year, because we have enough films to talk about, I wasn't going to get anybody else in here because there's enough for us to go into. But she sent a message after seeing Star Wars, because I put on Facebook, after watching Star Wars, my thing was just, my status about for Star Wars, well, I've seen it. And that was pretty much what I was going to say. So, people were like, and 2 people asked me, and all I could say after that was, well, it's definitely a film. And so Holly was like, I don't care, I'm going to go see it anyway because, hey, Star Wars. And you remember that we had a discussion on the podcast about why I was not looking forward to Star Wars and why I wasn't excited about Star Wars because it seemed the Emperor was back. And I'll just like to say I was right. But it's... and so after that, after Holly was like, I don't care, I'm going to see it. Holly now sent me a message saying, Star Wars, FML. Now,
what does that mean?
FML. I'll give you a clue.
What does that mean?
The M and the L mean my life.
Right. Is it a rude word?
The first one is a rude word that both Sharon and I do not feel comfortable saying.
Oh, okay. I won't say it online then. That's a new one. See, I don't know these acronyms. I know some of them.
I thought you might.
Normally, you can guess what the F stands for.
Yeah, exactly. So she says Star Wars FML. I fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
She says, I fell asleep. Charlotte had to wake me up to stop my snoring. To which I just replied with crying, laughing emojis. And then she goes forward with capital letters, not a good film. So I'm going to leave that as the final word. We're going to draw a line underneath it, and we're going to move on with our lives. And all I can say is I really hope they don't make any more, but who am I kidding? They're going to. So
yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to this week. And now, with everything that we've said, I have tried to sort of cut things down. And so, Sean, I have decided, because I think you saw a preview this week of Bombshell, and I saw a preview.
I did, yes.
I saw a preview of Just Mercy. So to help us try and get through this, I've decided no previews. We're not talking about any previews. We're talking about films that are on general release. The previews may be next week, if they're out. Because on the things on Netflix, we have, between us, 11 things to talk about.
Oh my goodness me, that's crazy.
Yes. So
are we going to do the also ran things then? Just pick our main ones and do the also rans.
I was thinking
like
that
we do sometimes.
I think we'll give ourselves a little bit of an easier week, so we don't have to watch so much in this week and move some stuff till next week. Because I've come down with 5. We can do a 5 versus 5 today. So 5 for Netflix, 5 for cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do 5 versus 5.
Okay, well, both of you, how many, with The Witcher, how many episodes are there?
8.
So it's quite a lot. Is there anything that both of you guys have seen that I can watch? And I mean, I could try and catch up with that if you want to save The Witcher. I'll make a note of trying to watch The Witcher.
I think The Witcher The Witcher is the only thing we both have watched. And I had that down to talk about tonight, if you want.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Because, this is what I've come up with in this order for our cinema running order. Let me know what you think. Little Women, JoJo Rabbits, Cats, The Gentlemen, then Spies in Disguise.
Okay, that sounds good.
On the Netflix side of things, I got The Witcher,
right,
The Two Popes, 6 Underground,
right,
Virgin River,
okay,
and His Dark Materials.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, all right, cool. So without further ado, shall we go? Let's crack on with this thing. And what do you reckon? Usual 7 minutes and try.
5. But what do you reckon? 5? Cut it down a bit. What do you think? I mean,
Sharon,
there's quite a few.
How succinct? I'm happy to go with either. I mean, I can be quite succinct on the ones I've done. I've watched.
Okay, cool. All right.
So we can.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Well, let's just play it a bit. Let's play it a bit by ear, maybe, because sometimes we like to stay more on others than some. The others we can sort of go pretty quick.
I think some of the ones that that more than one of us have seen will probably take a little bit longer. But let's kick off. Let's kick off with Little Women. Now, who's seen Little Women? Me.
I've seen Little Women.
Okay, cool. So, Sharon.
Not yet.
Okay, Sharon, you haven't seen Little Women. Now, Sharon...
No, I was going to, but maybe next week. Yeah.
Okay. So now this is a film that I think cannot escape the fact that it is literally adaptation. Now, as we all know, because we're all becoming caricatures of our film watching selves, if it's a literary adaptation, Sharon is on it. So
yeah.
So
I'm there.
Okay, so Sharon. Wait a second. That means I'm gonna have to. That means Sean's not gonna talk for a while. Who cares? We'll just go. Sean, sorry.
That's right. You go. I'll listen.
That's not that bad, but I mean, let's just go for it. I'm giving up trying to figure out this big, massive, gargantuan beast. So Sharon, tell us about Little Women. Tell us a little bit about the book. Give us 30 seconds on the book, then tell us about the film.
Okay, the book is by Louisa May Alcott. It is set just during the American Civil War, and it's about 4 girls, 4 sisters, the March sisters, who live in Massachusetts, so they're northern family.
Yep.
And it's about the lives of how these are girls who have grown up in this society that doesn't have a lot of roles for women, but each one of these girls represents a different aspect of sort of like the female character. There's the artistic one, Amy, the young one.
Yep.
There's the home-loving one, but who's also a bit flighty, Meg. There's Beth, who's a sweetheart, who's musical and is deeply talented, and she wants to stay at home. And then there's Jo, who is the writer and the dramatist, and is ambitious and fierce and feisty. So you've got these 4 contrasting characters in the 4 girls. And as the story progresses, you get to see how, through domestic matters, their lives are unfold, and you sort of through the books you follow the different paths their lives take, how ambitions are fulfilled, how some of them are not made, and how some are changed as they grow older.
Can I just ask one thing?
Yeah.
Is it like American Pride and Prejudice?
Yes, it was very similar. Right. It isn't just about, though primarily Pride and Prejudice sets out its stall on the very first line.
Right.
You know, that it's a truth universal acknowledged that a man in possession of a fortune must be in want of a wife.
Right, okay.
It's all about fortune and marriage.
Sure, you saw the words out of my mouth. I always thought that it was. I always thought it was a bit like an American Pride and Prejudice. But sorry,
it's similar in that it's about sisters. There's 5 sisters in Pride and Prejudice, but there's 4 sisters. But it is about these group of sisters and where their lives take them. But mainly in P&P, it is about marriage and about the relationships. Whereas the primary relationships in Little Women are between their 4 sisters.
Oh yeah, because they're American. They're Americans.
Yeah. And their strongest relationship is with each other, rather than, and very much in this film adaptation, the relationships they form outside of their family are secondary to the ones that they form within it.
I wonder if it's the same time era, the same time period.
It's for P&P.
It's about
60 years different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 50, 60 years difference. I've asked my wife all these questions, who is also a bit of
well done.
Yeah, that's definitely in the Regency period.
Okay.
Early Regency P&P. Whereas this is definitely Civil War era America.
1860s.
Yeah, so the film takes... in some ways, it's a good adaptation of the novel.
Yep.
In that you get the key points, the key events from the book happen. Mm-hmm. But the way they've done it, they've structured it is obviously completely different. In the book, you meet the children you meet the girls when they were children. You see their school days, they're growing up, they're meeting their neighbour, and then you see them as they grow into Little Women, as they sort of mature.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's the narrative is swapped around. You see them at the end, the 4 women, you see them at the beginning of the film as they are at the end of the book.
Yeah.
Right.
So you see Jo's writing, Meg's married, Beth is, sickly,
right.
and Amy is
always a sickly one.
Amy is in sort of Paris painting. So you start the film where their journeys end in the books, and then you go back and then you revisit these different key points in their lives together. So the narrative is a bit confusing. When you first see it, it's like 1 minute her hair's down, so that's when she's younger, and then when her hair's up, that she's mature. But unless you actually can watch that, it gets very confusing. I went with a group with different people each. I've seen it twice actually. Ooh. And I took my mum to see it as a Christmas present with her best friend. And so they're 2 ladies in their mid-80s. And then I went with my ladies group from my church, because there aren't that many PG films that we feel this is you, but there aren't that many films that, as a group of church-going ladies, we're comfortable watching together. Then I say, I see all the other films on my own, or with Sharon. I don't see them with...
Are you trying to tell me that the ladies group for your church does not go out for outings to see John Wick?
Alas, no. I've tried to get them to, but they won't play with it. They won't play with that ball. So I've tried, but no. If it's a U, they'll go to it. PG, even then, some of them will hesitate. I don't know.
They can see an animated film, Sharon. That'd be good.
Yeah. So this was, as it's a U, it's like, okay, it's safe. But we all did laugh, actually. As soon as this certificate came up, this is a U. And I heard one of my friends say, oh, well, that's a relief. And it's like, it says universal for all. Anyway, so yeah, they all joined it, but everyone I've seen it with, so the oldies and the sort of middlings have all said it was confusing at the beginning. They didn't know what was going on because it kept jumping back and forwards in time.
Yep.
And there were certain sort of ways of filming it where when someone's writing a letter, instead of you having like the narrator reading it, you have the person who writes the letter addressing it to camera. They're reading the letter.
Oh yeah.
And then just sort of saying it to camera. So a few times they found that a little bit distracting. But on the whole, I think it did touch on a lot of the key points from the book. Apart from the very ending, which is completely out of the book, it's a very feminist sort of slant on the book. That isn't actually in the written word, but they've added that to the film.
Well, yeah, because I think because I actually quite thought it was quite clever the way they did it at the beginning. And I think if they had done the film like linearly the way the book was, I think I would have. I don't think I would have been as interested. But it's almost kind of like, you know, one of these things where they show you something and then you're wondering, how did we get here? Then they go back and show you all that kind of stuff.
Show you how you got here.
Yeah. And I was surprised because I found out that I actually knew quite a bit of the story, because randomly in Nigeria, as most things just happened randomly in Nigeria, we had a version of Little Women that kept showing up on TV, but it was like and I've been searching and I think I figured it out. It was a BBC version of Little Women that was done, and it was pretty much one static camera. Almost all of the action took place in one room. But I remembered, but I was watching going, Laurie go, and something happens, and Laurie and Joe, and something happens. Oh my God, I remember what happens now. I remember
what this is.
I remember always thinking that was wrong. That shouldn't have happened. That should have happened. but yeah, there was a scene at the end of the film, because Holly had also seen this film, and I had to get in touch with her and I had to go, Holly, is there a scene at the end of the film that is a lot more about Louisa May Alcott, who wrote the book, than it is about Joe March, who is in the story? And Holly was like, oh yeah, definitely. There was a scene in there that they put in there to sort of pay tribute to Louisa May Alcott, because she wrote this book to be, it was based on her family. And the character of Joe is essentially her. So Louisa May Alcott is an author, and Joe is also aspiring to be an author. And there's a scene at the end of the film that, from a story point of view, does not work. So from a story point of view, it just doesn't work. It's almost as if they stop the story to shove this scene in. And from a story point of view, it doesn't work. But from let's pay tribute to the woman who wrote this book and what she managed to achieve at a time when women weren't that well regarded, it's actually quite affecting. But from a story, it doesn't work. And I was like, that. Yeah. And even though I haven't read the book and I don't know that that's not in the book, I watched it and went, there's no way that can be in the book. There's no way that scene is in the book.
Yeah, I know the scene you mean, and it's definitely not, because I actually turned to one of my friends I've read the book a couple of times, but she knows the book much better than I do, and I turned to her and said, that isn't the ending, is it? And she said, no. And she remembered exactly how the book ends, and I said, yeah, that makes more sense. Because we were saying to each other, I can't know if I'm remembering the last film adaptation, the Winona Ryder version. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm remembering that version of the film and how that ends, or if I'm remembering how the book ends.
Yeah.
And then she said, no, the book ends different to that version as well. But then she said, this is how the book ends. So, yes, you can see that there are certain scenes that they put in to reflect the process that Louisa May Alcott had to go through to get Little Women published.
Yeah. I just watched it. I remember watching it going, there's no way that's the way the book ends. But
no.
Yeah, so how many stars would you give it?
I actually enjoyed it. So for all that it's sort of jumbled upness, I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film, worth watching, and enjoyable for all some of the anachronistic sort of aspects of it. So I would give it a 4-star rating.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 as well. I actually quite like the jumbled upness. I think the jumbled upness makes it better. I think a straightforward adaptation might have been a bit twee and make you wonder, okay, why is this a film? Why am I watching this? Why am I not reading a book?
Yeah.
Or why am I not watching this on the BBC or something like that? But I think,
and to be honest, we have got that film. The Winona Ryder version still stands up.
Yep.
As that film, if you want it as a straightforward narrative when their children growing up to where they're growing older, that's the film you watch.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like a slightly new look at it. So I think, if you want that, it's out there. I mean, I think sometimes we look at films when they're remade as if the previous versions cease to exist now. But I think if you can sort of say, well, actually, that's part of the canon, we could just add something new to this. So if you don't like this version, then you know what? There's still the other one's still out there.
Yeah,
and it's still a valid piece of cinema.
And for that, I applaud Greta Gerwig, who made the film, because you made something that you say, okay, at least you might know this story, but you haven't seen it this way before. And for that, I'm like, yes, that's what you're supposed to do with film. You're supposed to give us something that hasn't. You hear that, J.J. Abrams? You hear that? You're supposed to give us something that we haven't seen before. You know, it's funny, right? Okay, I know we said we're going to close the book on the Rise of Skywalker, but on Twitter, it is some of the things on there are hilarious. Some of the things are just toxic, but some things are hilarious. And there was one person that their tweet after this film was out was just simply, J.J. Abrams, how effing dare you? which I just thought was hilarious. I mean, a bit stronger than I would have said it, but I totally get where he's coming from. So, okay, so that's 4 for Little Women, and I think I just want to say one quick thing about the performances. Brilliant all round. Meryl Streep, Laura Dern, Florence Pugh, Saoirse Ronan, Eliza Scanlon, who's another one of this crop of Australian young female actresses who could just seem to do anything. And and who was it? Oh, and Emma Watson, the best Emma Watson has ever been. And yes, I'm including Harry Potter because all the kids were rubbish in that. Yeah, the best Emma Watson has ever been. All right, cool. All right, okay. Now we're gonna go to Netflix, and I've switched things around a little bit. Sean, tell us about the two popes.
Yes. Oh yeah, the two popes. Yeah, the two popes. This is the story of I forget the popes' names. I'm afraid. I'm sorry. Benedict and
Francis.
Benedict and Francis.
Pope Francis, Pope Benedict. Yeah,
Pope Benedict. I don't know how do they abdicate? Is it an abdication when you?
Yeah, he sort of retires. Yeah. He sort of retired because of ill health. So basically, it's the story of. It starts off with that they've obviously got to elect a new pope, and it shows all the cardinals turning up all ready to vote. The opening thing, and apparently they burn the things in this chimney, and if it comes black, they haven't chosen, and if it becomes white, then they've chosen. The conclave, is that what it is? See, you guys probably know more than me. This was a fascinating film because I think it must have been, when I first saw it, I thought,
it's the only time in 1,000 years of history, 1,500 years of history, that there's been two popes that have lived at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. So, and only a couple have abdicated. So this basically is a story. Obviously, Pope Benedict? He gets elected. He's elected, first of all, after this vote. And he's very, very orthodox, and he doesn't want to change the church. Yeah, because that's it, the word conservative. So he's very, very conservative, and he doesn't want gay marriage, or he doesn't want, all those things that come in. And the other Pope, Pope Francis, he's from
South America.
South American, Argentinian. Yeah, Argentinian.
The first South American Pope, I gather.
Oh, yeah, first South American Pope, and first from the Southern Hemisphere as well, apparently. So, and basically most of the film was just the two of them in conversation. And
I saw an episode of EastEnders like that.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, and
get out my Vatican.
Oh dear, you guys! I don't think you like the Catholic Church, do you? You guys? I think.
No.
Are you? No, I don't know. I get this vibe here. Anyway, I mean, you sort of see the Vatican. I don't know if the actual performances when they're together was inside the Vatican.
No, I mean, I certainly
thought it wasn't. Okay,
it wasn't. But they chose they chose their locations very, very carefully. And they did a lot of repainting to actually make it look exactly like the Vatican, like the Sistine
That's what it was. I was going to say that must have been. I did actually look the first time. I thought, wow, I could imagine it being like that place. And then the more I looked at it, because I sort of really looked at it, and I thought, well, perhaps that bit's a little bit of a set, and perhaps that bit has been made up. But I mean, it is spectacular. There's some of the rooms. So the story that they sort of Pope. What's not Benedict? What's the other one? Francis decides. Sorry about this. Yeah, Pope Francis decides that he wants to. He's going to resign. He doesn't want to be a cardinal anymore. He wants to go back to just being a Jesuit.
Yeah.
You see, now this is when you watch a film like this, oh, he's a Jesuit. I thought, what's a Jesuit? I thought, oh, maybe that's a Jewish person who's Catholic, but it's not. Yeah, it's a little order. So I've actually researched this because I've heard the word Jesuit, and it's just a group that actually go out and do the ministry
they
stuff.
Ministers the poor mainly, don't they?
So that's something new I've learned, and I thought I was quite knowledgeable on religious things. So there you go. Anyway, the acting is absolutely fantastic in this. Really, really spot on. And to think that the two of them can hold up the film for most of the time.
Yeah.
And they talk about, and it actually goes back to Pope Francis during the
this one I intend to watch this. I do intend to watch this
with the military junta. And he actually, obviously, a lot of the religious people are being persecuted, but he sort of tries to make friends with one of the admirals, and he tries to. So and it goes right back all through the young, all through his how he nearly lost his faith. Yeah. And there's also a bit before where he's going to get married, but he obviously decides because he's going to give up, and then he get married, and then something happens, and he decides that he must go the other way. So there's quite a lot of flashbacks on Francis' side, nothing on Benedict's side. Yeah, except you can tell. And they sit and they sort of things. He goes, as things get on, there's a little bit. He goes over to Rome because he wants to hand in his resignation, and then Benedict says no. And every time he says, I want to, and they go, no, you can't. And so to start off with, there's a little bit of friction between them, but then they go, should we have some pizza? And then they start talking about football and saying, in the World Cup, you've got Argentina playing Germany, right? And obviously Pope Benedict, he doesn't really know that much about it. So, and yeah, it's just a really, really. Okay. I thought this was brilliant. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. It really, really was. Good. Really, really tremendous film. Sorry. Go on, Toast.
I was going to say, Sean, from doing a podcast with you, one of the things I realized is that I've said it before, that you love it when a film lets you into a world you know nothing about. And I'm picking up this vibe from you that this film did that for you. You're like, what? Really? That's how they elect the Pope? Really? Oh my God, I didn't know about that.
That's it. Exactly. It was, it's fascinating. Obviously, I know the Catholic Church and the Pope and these like St. Peter and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
But the Jesuits. I always assumed I'd heard the word and never really thought much about it, and always assumed they were Jews that had become part of the Catholic Church. No. That was my take on it, and yet they're a whole different order.
Yeah, just an order of monks.
Yeah.
So you said fascinating film. You've mentioned the performances by Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins, which that enough is enough to make me go, I'm watching that film. So
yeah. I was hoping that you guys might have seen this, but I guess it's fairly recent. So because I would love to have a really good conversation with you guys about this because there's a lot of talking points on this. So when you do finally see it, perhaps we can revisit it.
Sean, it is on my list. And as you can see with all the watching that has been going on, one of my aims this year is to cut my Netflix list down. When it says my list or things you go through Netflix and go, oh yeah, that looks good, and you add something. Oh, that looks good. You add something to it. I think I must have about 40 things on my list that I have been there for about a year that I have not watched. And so this year I'm like, I'm cutting this thing down. I am cutting this list down. So the Two Popes is it's gonna get it. It's gonna get it. Don't worry, Sean.
Good. Yeah, no, that's cool. Because as I say, it was a really, really decent insight into how things go on, and also about the with the flashbacks to the Argentinian junta. I didn't realise it was quite as bad as what it was. Obviously I was aware of it because when the Falklands came up,
things happen in South America, we tend to be a little bit like, well, that's the Latin temperament, don't we? We do tend to be a bit dismissive of that and some of the things that go on there.
Yeah. But it's just great when they have he goes, let's have pizza, because obviously he's very. Pope Benedict is really, really, like you say, conservative, totally conservative, and he even cracks a smile a couple of times when he's talking with Francis. So, that's not their real names, is it? It's not their real names. His name's like Bagliotto or something.
They get given names.
Yeah, they get given names.
There's only been one British Pope.
Yeah, Nicholas Breakspear, Adrian the Fourth there. See? But the reason I was that off is because I actually thought, oh, that's interesting, because someone said to me, oh, how many English popes?
One.
I thought, one, just the one, Nicholas Breakspear. And the school come up as well, Nicholas Breakspear School. So, Adrian the Fourth. So that's another thing I use. It might come in useful in a quiz sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. How many stars?
4 stars.
4 stars for The Two Popes,
good.
Yeah.
which we will go watch, and we will speed on, or try and speed on anyway. So the next thing we have up is Jojo Rabbit. I will take this one on. Now, Jojo Rabbit, I think, Sean, you and I have seen this.
Yes.
Okay, so Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit is a film by Taika Waititi, who is probably best known as the director of Thor Ragnarok. Although, if you want to see a Taika Waititi movie that I think is just a stone cold classic, find Hunt for the Wilder People. Awesome film. And
What We Do in the Shadows.
Well, yeah, he did What We Do in the Shadows. Essentially, he's become one of these directors that he does something and you go, okay, I have to see it. Whatever it is, I have to see it. And so he now, after Thor Ragnarok, he says his next film that he's going to do is going to be a film called Jojo Rabbit. Okay, cool. That's cool. That's a very idiosyncratic title, very Taika Waititi, in which is going to be about a young boy, a young boy who's a member of the Hitler Youth in Nazi Germany. You're like, okay, whose imaginary friend is Hitler. And this Hitler is going to be played by Taika Waititi. So, and obviously, that gets said at the beginning, I think a lot of people were doing like sharp intakes of breath. A lot of people were like, oh my God, what is this going to be? What is this going to be? And it is, I think, okay, because you don't have that much time, I'll say that it is a delightful film. I think Taika Waititi knows exactly what he's doing, and the fact that he kept pointing out that he is not playing Hitler, he's playing a young, impressionable boy's image of what Hitler is or who Hitler is, and a young, impressionable boy in Nazi Germany who has been told how great Hitler is, and this is his image of what Hitler is and all that kind of stuff. So you meet Jojo at the beginning of the film, and you see him getting dressed up all in his Nazi his Hitler Youth uniform and all that kind of stuff. He's going off to something that is pretty much a summer camp for Nazi boys, and it paints this almost weird, so satirical, funny, ridiculous picture of Nazi Germany, in which I think the kind of things that it puts in the film, I will look at them and I go, okay, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but it's a little bit heightened, and it just shows you, okay, this is how silly some of these things must have been. And I think the kid who plays Jojo is brilliant in it. And there's funny, Sean, I'm not sure what you thought, but his best friend in the film made me think of a tiny Nick Frost. It was like a shrunken.
I've never given that much thought, but now you come to mention it.
Yorkie,
yeah.
Yorkie. Oh,
yeah.
Honestly, I each time he came on screen, I was like, oh my God, it's Nick Frost without a beard and maybe 5 times smaller or something like that.
Wow.
And so it made me immediately start thinking of JoJo as Simon Pegg. And so from there, this was almost kind of like, Shaun of the Dead Nazi version or something like that. But I think that the film has so much heart because the main plot kicks in when JoJo finds out, even that he has been told all these things about Jews, and he's been told all these things about how Hitler is amazing and how the Jews have horns and they breathe fire, but Hitler is Superman and all that kind of stuff. And the Taika Waititi plays Hitler like that, like this young boy's image of this amazing person, although he's extremely silly. Some of the dialogue is hilarious. It is hilarious. So this young impressionable boy who's been told that the Nazi way is the way, Hitler is the best person, Jews are horrible, horrible people, finds out that his mum is actually a member of the resistance and is harboring a Jewish girl in their house. And it becomes the thing of, oh, what's he going to do now and all that kind of stuff. But it's done in a very, very almost innocent, childlike way. And it made me really think of, do you guys ever remember the film Life is Beautiful?
Yes.
Yeah.
About
Life is Beautiful.
Concentration camp. Yeah.
Yeah, set in Italy, and about how have the Italian Jew who ends up in a concentration camp, but he doesn't want his son to know that they're in a war. So he makes up that it's all this big game and everything like that, and all the way up to Life is Beautiful has a heartbreaking ending. It has one of the most heartbreaking endings I think I've seen in cinema. But all the way up to that, and it's kind of like, so it's almost kind of like a fairy tale set in the midst of like a massive, massive atrocity. And I think Jojo Rabbit pulls off a very, very similar trick of doing this. And yeah, I liked it. I really, really liked it. I thought it was great. And Sean, I haven't left you much time to talk about it, but please go.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I mean, for me, it was. I was there. I thought this was brilliant. I thought this was absolutely. I mean, this was an amazing film. I mean, I was laughing out loud, which is unusual for me. very, very clever, very, very poignant, and like you say, he really believed it. Obviously, you could see the indoctrination there of what they, he's got horns and they sleep upside down. And I loved the bit with the book. Because you got Stephen Marchant as like when the old Gestapo people turn up.
Oh, good Lord, that scene is so funny.
It's hilarious, isn't it? Really.
They have this sort of Hi Hitler sort of cascade. Hi Hitler, Hi Hitler,
Hi Hitler.
Hi Hitler. It's almost out of a low, that scene.
It is. But I mean, the acting's great. I mean, it's amazing, really, when you think that, he plays, and I just love it with the things he, like, when the knives are gone and all that, and like, he's got like a colander on his head and things, and it's just like, tapping on the door and stuff like that, and then he gradually finds out all these questions, and as I say, and he does this book, and it's like, all drawings of what obviously what he thinks. They do, oh, your magic, where's your horns? You know what I mean? Oh, you can do magic. Oh, your mind control, all that sort of thing. So yeah, no, I thought it was absolutely blisteringly good. Yeah. Really, really good movie.
Yeah, and I also think, especially without being preachy about it, it just sort of sketches what happens. That part of the reason why this kid can keep thinking this way is because he's never actually met a Jew. And so,
exactly.
The relationship that develops between him and the girl. And I think there's some of the questions that, like, once I heard the synopsis of the film, some of the questions I had is like, hang on a second, why doesn't that happen? Why doesn't that happen? The film addresses them. So everything in the film kind of makes sense. Yeah. And it sort of follows a path. And this is a film that has people, because they all speak in English, but they all have like slightly German inflected accents. So, and I think everybody does really, really well with that, and they keep that sort of like slight German inflection of the accent with everybody. So you have Sam Rockwell, who plays a Nazi sort of commandant, and you can tell that he's American, but there's still that German inflection in there. Same thing with Scarlett Johansson. Same thing with like Rebel Wilson. Now Rebel Wilson, I'm getting a bit tired of, and we'll talk about that in another one of the films that we're going to talk about today. But in this, I thought actually this is her reined in a little bit, and this is her actually being really effective in the role that she's playing. And they keep doing things where they'll have something that's hilarious, then in the middle of it they'll just chuck something that you'll be like, oh my god, that's horrific, but then it carries on being hilarious. And it's so really, really great film. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. Yeah. I'll definitely give it a 4. Yeah, big 4 for me.
It's on my list.
Yeah,
I hope to see this weekend.
Yeah, it needs to be watched. I'll probably go watch it again. I thought it was brilliant.
I only didn't see it this weekend because I didn't have my phone on me this last week.
You didn't have your phone on you?
No, Sean said, we're going to see this at this time, and I was available at that time, but I was reading in a different room to where my phone was, and so I didn't hear my phone go beep beep, and I didn't check my phone until I went to bed.
Oh yeah,
and it was just like, I'm just going to bed, and the film was on 5 hours before.
That's a shame. It's a shame because it would have been,
It's a very good film. I think Taika Waititi, he's pulled off a bit of a minor miracle because it could have gone so wrong.
I don't think the critics liked it, did they? What did the critics?
I'm not sure.
No,
I don't tend to read them because we are the critics, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's true.
The critics. We have joined the upper echelons. We don't eat with a hoi polloi anymore. No.
Yeah, we don't need to hear what they say. We have our own opinion.
Oh, and talking about young Australian actresses who seem to just be able to do anything. The Jewish girl is played by Thomasin McKenzie, who was in one of your favorite films of either last year or the year before, Leave No Trace. She played the daughter.
Leave No Trace.
Yeah, she's the daughter in that.
Yeah. So and she's Australian, so obviously she's brilliant in this. But the kid performances are awesome. They are awesome.
They really are. Yeah,
they are so good. All right, cool. Let's move on back to Netflix, and now we're going to talk about The Witcher. Now, Sharon, you go.
The Witcher. Ooh. The Witcher is based on a series of books by Andrzej Sapkowski, and also says that the book started first, and then that spawned a game series called The Witcher.
Yep.
And now Netflix have joined the wagon. There's loads of books. There's about 9 books or something, and they're now starting to film them. And The Witcher is a character called Geralt of Rivia. I think that's it, Rivia.
Yeah, Geralt of Rivia.
And he is the Witcher, and witches they're described as mutants, aren't they, in the series?
Yes,
they're basically they're enhanced. They're not normal. They're not natural borns. They're sort of some sort of magic in their DNA, so they do have magical powers.
It's implied that like some wizards took them and did something to them so that they would be more able to fight monsters, and yeah, essentially that.
Yeah, and they don't seem to age. They have certain magic abilities. They have certain heightened sort of fighting skills. So yeah they've been like, they're not your normal. They're not just well-trained soldiers. There's something other about them.
Yeah, and
we follow the story through this Witcher, Geralt, who is played by Henry Cavill. Mm-hmm. And first of all, it starts off as sort of a monster of the week type thing, where he's employed by different villagers or different people to dispose of monsters, be it a troll or a dragon or a horrible, nasty thing that's eating their sheep. But he's sent in there to kill them. And then the story expands a little bit, so you see the wider world in which they're set, and there's a wider battle that we're unaware of, in which there's this invading force who are basically sweeping down through the free lands, the lands in which this sort of the continent where the Witcher sort of Nilfgaard, and they're these awful, dark, horrible orky type. Orcs. They're not orcs, but they give you that impression that they're orcs.
Yeah,
are they orcs?
Oh, what things? What the people? What orcs?
The dark, nasty people.
No, they're not. Everybody's a human.
They're all humans. But some of them, but you have mages and you have witches, and so they have, and they draw on some like earth magic. So as the story focuses on the Witcher, on Geralt, you do meet a young witch, as you see her, how she's plucked from like her village life and how she's trained up to become a mage, and that is Yennefer.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing these names out there because it's just getting a bit more confusing. And then you also see about this young girl who's sort of fleeing in the woods, and all those storylines converge.
Yeah.
And so you've got this monster of the week versus a bigger picture, as in there's something going on in the wider world. And as the series evolves, you get to see glimpses of what the ultimate story is probably going to be.
Oh, all right. If I may I, Sharon?
You get in there, help me out.
Okay, so essentially, this is the kind of thing that once you see it, there's no way you can escape the idea, or they're trying to make Game of Thrones. This is Netflix's answer to Game of Thrones. And you know how?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because the first time I started watching Game of Thrones, I watched 3 episodes and then stopped. I was like, I don't get what's going on. I don't understand what's going on. Why is this guy was here a second ago, why is he now there? And then it's not until you go back and you start looking at the map and you realize, oh, they actually hundreds of miles from each other. And it wasn't until my wife started watching it again, and then it took me a while, but by the end of the first season, I was like, okay, cool. Okay, now I think I'm in it. Now I think I get it. And Sharon, you were talking about all the jumping back and forth in time that happened in Little Women. And if you had trouble with that, I can't imagine what kind of trouble you had with this show.
Yeah, because it's only when you're partway through the series you realise that all these events, so you think they're happening at the same time, but just in different parts of the world. They're not. They're happening in different timelines.
Right.
But because Geralt's a Witcher, he doesn't appear to age, so he looks the same in whichever timeline he's in. But they are like decades apart, aren't they?
Yeah, they're decades apart. And I think that it might be a bit of a spoiler, but I think it's worth saying this, because I watched the first 2 episodes and I went, I don't get a clue what's going on. And I pretty much stopped watching it until I saw Holly say something that she really, really enjoyed. And I thought, okay, cool. Maybe I'll keep watching it. And I kept watching it. And then there is a bit of a joy at sitting out there trying to figure out, okay, what the heck's going on? And as you said, there's 3 main characters. There's Geralt, there's Yennefer, and there's Ciri. And don't worry, this is one of those things, it's a bit like Game of Thrones, where you have all these names of different places and all these names of different characters. I mean, there's characters in Game of Thrones that the series is over and I still don't know what their names were. So it's a little bit like that, as in, like, you just go through all these things and you have all these different people, and you realize that there's 3 main storylines, and only one of those storylines is progressing linearly. So you'll be watching somebody's storyline, and then you watch one episode and be, okay, cool, this character's met that character. Okay, cool, let's go on. Then the next time you see that character, it might be an episode or 2 later on, the character that they met is nowhere to be seen. And you're like, oh, okay, I don't know where they went. Then
what happened with them? Yeah, what happened with that?
Then you go to the next episode, and somebody who died in the first episode is back. And you're like, what the heck? I thought you died. I'm pretty sure I saw you dead, unless it's somebody else with a beard who dresses exactly like you who is back. and then it takes probably about 3 or 4 episodes to realize, oh, none of these episodes are sequential. None of these episodes happen one after the other. And I think once you get your head around that, and once you actually allow it to go, I actually really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was really, I thought it was quite good. I mean, I do think that in the Game of Thrones comparison, I'm getting less and less accepting of this. I mean, I was never really accepting of it, but I'm getting less and less accepting of it, of using naked women as scene dressing and using and having this thing where you have like loads of naked women, and I'm like, okay, I'm not big on nudity. I don't see why you need to have naked people all over the shop. But my thing is, if you're going to have naked women, you're going to have naked men, as far as I'm concerned. So if you're going to put naked women in there, where are the naked men? And there's this whole thing where they did in Game of Thrones. They had naked men. Yeah, to be fair, in Game of Thrones,
it's more naked women than men.
But if you want to look at the proportions, it's something like 95. 95%. Right. Okay. To 5% of men, and in this,
sometimes I think they are overdone because, I find that sometimes in some films with love scenes. All right, you can see them get together, but why do you have to have like 5 minutes of like? Because you think, okay, they've been to bed, they get the idea what they've done. Why do we need to see it? You know, we go and watch them.
Why do we need to see them naked? Why do we need to see them naked? Yeah. I mean, the only reason is that they want me to have a reaction. They want me to have a certain reaction to this that makes me want to watch it because of that, and I do not like that.
Yeah.
And I do not like that. No. And there's a lot of, especially to do with Yennefer. There's a lot of scenes that I think are just gratuitous. There's just a lot of gratuitous nudity.
Yeah, there's one scene I thought, I don't see why you had to be naked for that whole scene. Yeah. But going back to my ladies group, we used to have a joke.
I thought you were going to say you show
we used to have this joke.
They'd be like, ooh, that little screechy thing you made, they'd have screeched a hell of a lot more.
With my ladies group, there's a joke I used to have with one of my particular friends where we would say, you know, what's this film like, or what's this book like? And my friend would say, well, it's got nipples in it. And if it had nipples in it, then she said, if it's a book, you know where that's going.
Yeah.
And if it's in a film, you know the sort of content. So you'd say, you know, what's it like? She said, well, it's all right, but it has got nipples in it. So I would say Witcher has got nipples in it. Right, okay. Probably more often than you would probably think was necessary.
Right, yeah, it's totally unnecessary.
And yeah.
It's totally unnecessary. But I mean, so apart from that is my.
But you see quite a bit of Henry Cavill, but it's all from the waist up, basically.
Do you see? Is there a lot of action in it? Is there a lot of action, a lot of fighting? Lots of fighting.
And it's well done as well. It's good fighting.
Good
it's not just like, I don't know how to. He knows how to use a sword.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That sounds a bit wrong.
And they have at least one really big battle, and I love the way they use magic and swords and like tactics and all that kind of stuff. I love the way they sort of like
see that's what I love. That's why I like Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
and I still think
the battles make sense.
To this day, and I stand by it, is the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones is the best battle scene I've seen in any medium. But,
or as I would call it, the Battle of the Blighters.
Battle of the Blighters, yeah. So, and what would your ladies call it?
All right, okay.
What's that,
guys?
Okay.
There's no chance we're going to finish this. There's no chance we're going to finish this by the time we said we were going to finish. But anyway, so So how many stars would you give it, Sharon?
I enjoyed it for all that, so I would still give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll still give it. I would rate
it and say it's very watchable. Yeah,
I'll still give it a 4 as well. And I went on because Holly tagged Netflix as a cinema on I've spoken a lot to Holly over this holiday period on Twitter, and she said that she enjoyed The Witcher, and I replied saying, oh yeah, thanks to you, I kept watching. I'm happy I finished watching it. Although I think if they're going to insist on putting naked women in it, they need to put some more naked men in it as well. And one of the actresses who's in it, Mariana Burning, liked the tweet. So hopefully she's going to...
Oh, wow.
Yes. So hopefully she's going to go back on set and tell them, all right, people, season 2, because they are going to make a season 2. And where the season 1 ends, I want to see a season 2. She's like, hopefully she'll go and say, okay, guys, we need to put some clothes on.
Yeah, she's great, actually. I'm really that's made my day, because I think she's great, and everything she's done, she's good.
Oh, good.
Mariana Burning, excellent actress.
Sharon, it really is like you and Holly share the same brain. But anyway, honestly, I'm going to show you the tweet that Holly sent. It pretty much says exactly that. All right. Okay, now we're going to go on to cats. Ha! Cats.
Oh, yeah, cats. Because time's whizzing on, isn't it? We're not going to get through these, are we?
We're not going to get through these.
I've only got one word to say.
Yep.
Jellicle.
Oh, Jellicle, yeah.
No,
Jellicle.
No, Sharon, why?
Jellicle cats.
Okay. I think I need to put a warning before this review and say this is going to be a mean one. It is going to, from my point of view anyway, this is going to be a mean review. Sean, I'm not sure about you.
No, as I say, I'm pretty not.
I haven't seen it.
Well, you haven't seen it. No,
I'm not that daft.
Well, I probably would have. Are you going to go and see it?
No.
Right. I mean, the reason that.
Not unless Tosin makes me.
All right. I'll tell you what
Sharon,
this was.
I wouldn't do that to you. I would not do that to you.
As I was away, I was away at Christmas, and it was my sister, and I had a meerkat code, and I said, "Do you want to go to pictures? Because I've got a meerkat code, and I've got the card, and we can use the card." And she said, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing cats. Everyone's going to have cats." And I said, "Okay, well, fair enough. I mean, I better see what it's like." Yeah. Well, so because I mean, there's caused a lot of controversy, isn't it? I mean, it's like people have moaned about it and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen Cats at the theatre years ago when it first came out, and I thought it was quite good because it's sort of done in the round, and they all come through, and it was quite fun. This, on the other hand, is quite different. So yeah, and I mean proportion. It's just like the proportions are really. They're not consistent. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be cats, and they like be in a house, and they're like in Jack and the Beanstalk house. You know what I mean? I know they would be smaller than chairs and things, but I mean they're like tiny compared to it's just sort of. And I'm like, well, that's different to the other ones when they're out in the streets. And it was pretty odd. I mean, I didn't. The actual CGI bits. After a while, I got used to that. I didn't mind. It was a bit like the Grand Moff Tarkin in there.
I mean, a lot of people have complained about the CGI, and quite frankly, I don't think that's that bad. I don't see why people.
No, I didn't. I mean, you sort of got used to it, didn't you? Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. These are people. They're anthropomorphic cats. I could buy that. I mean, that was not the problem with this film. That was that was.
No, no, that wasn't the problem with this film. But there was a few problems with this film. Go on then, Toes. I'll let you take over from here because I know we're time short.
Essentially, this is a film, right? And we've spoken about taking your phone out in the cinema and how we're all generally speaking against it. This is a film that I had to take my phone out in the middle of the thing because I sent you guys a picture of how I booked my tickets, and I was the only booked ticket in the entire cinema. Yeah. So more people showed up. And that was all right. But when I put that up on Facebook, some people were like, "Oh, what's it like?" and all that kind of stuff. And I had to take my phone out in the middle of the film and just text, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm so bored."
It was pretty turgid.
I was like,
tedious.
It's so bored. It was so bad, right, and so boring that it made me think. Sean, imagine this. Okay, this is a real Sophie's Choice. Somebody says you have to sit down and watch one of these two films: Cats or Transformers: The Last Night. Which one do you do?
Well, it would have to be Transformers. I have to say. What about you?
I think I would have to go with Cats. I mean, at least that other film made me like really, really angry. But I mean, this film is just so boring, and I mean, the songs are rubbish. The songs are objectively.
They've got to be honest. They are pretty poor.
The songs are
they're bland, you know.
As I said, this
drives you mad. Those bloody Jellicle cats.
Exactly. This is what Sharon was talking about. Another thing I sent was I just said I never want to hear the word Jellicle again. There's just really, really odd things made because the one thing that I thought was going to be good in this film, the one thing was the dancing. And I said it a while back. I was like, look, you've got Francesca Hayward, who is, I think she's prima ballerina at the English National Ballet. You have Jason Derulo, because whatever you think about him, the guy's an amazing dancer. You have Les Twins, who are just brilliant hip-hop dancers. And I was like, the one thing that is going to be amazing in this film is the dancing. But the way they edit the film, you don't see any of the dancing. They cut they cut it in such a way that you don't appreciate anything that they do. They do all these things that if they just left the camera still for one freaking second, you would actually.
There was more dancing from the cockroaches, wasn't there?
Yeah, I know. There was more dancing from the cockroaches, and then you had this whole thing where they kept doing this stupid thing with the songs. That even the song, when the song started going somewhere, they would stop the song for someone to come in and do something that is funny in inverted commas. I hope you can hear that in my voice. And this usually fell to like James Corden or Rebel Wilson, and they were not funny. This is me talking about Rebel Wilson and how her shtick. I am getting really, really tired of it because she does the same thing in every single film. So it's like, and I was just kind of like, what the heck? And the one good song, and the one that you can say there is no way around it, that is a good song, and that's Memory. And you get Jennifer.
That's awful, isn't it? That's awful in this. It is really, really bad. I was been looking forward for that for the whole film. I thought, come on, bring on Memory, bring on Memory. It's like, it's like that screech.
Memory is an absolute, Memory is an.
Oh my word! Yeah, what's going on?
No, I mean, Memory. The song is supposed to be a belter. It's supposed to be sung out loud. It's supposed to be like fill out the auditorium. That's what that song is. Yeah. And I think I see what they were going for because the character of Grisabella, who sings Memory, which is played by Jennifer Hudson, who can sing. Everybody knows that.
Yes, everybody knows that.
So it's like, she's supposed to be a sad character and all that kind of stuff. And I can see that they are trying to go for, because this is Tom Hooper, who also directed Les Miserables. And in the Les Miserables
they do the breathy live thing.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, in Les Miserables,
that explains the whole thing.
Yeah, the thing is, in Les Miserables, right? In Les Miserables, you had Anne Hathaway, who I think gave the definitive version of "I Dreamed a Dream," because that song, the whole thing where you can hear the emotion in her voice. I can hear that she's all, "I dreamed a dream of time gone by," and it works for that. And they try and do the same thing with Memory because Grisabella is supposed to be a sad character, and it does not work. They try and they go midnight. No, the sound from the pavement, and it destroys the song.
It's awful. It's awful. Absolutely dire. Really bad. Really bad.
The arrangement and the direction ruined that song, and I don't think it's any fault of Jennifer Hudson's. I think it's the arrangement of the song, and they said we're going to do it this way, and the direction to sing it like a really sad. I mean, realism be damned. This is a film about anthropomorphic cats. Forget about realism. That song, whether it's a sad character or not, is supposed to be belted out, and they ruined it. And so, I mean, Ian McKellen is in the film.
He was awful.
He was awful.
He was awful. Honestly, Ian McKellen. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's what he seemed to do.
Oh my God. And the thing is, I've seen Ian McKellen on stage, right? I've seen Ian McKellen on stage in King Lear, and that was essentially reminding me of Ian McKellen on stage because when he came out for his curtain call, he did this thing that just annoyed the heck out of me, where he stood there and he wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't bow until everybody stood up and started clapping. And him playing Gus in this film was just kind of like that. And then there's weird things like you've gone to all this problem of making sure everybody has fur covering their bodies. But Sean, did you notice Judi Dench's hands?
I actually didn't. What? I might have done, but I can't recall it. I didn't. Probably not.
So everybody's a cat covered in fur. Judi Dench's hands are human hands. They are just Judi Dench's hands with her wedding ring on. And so you have this cat. So she looks like somebody wearing a really, really, really weird cat suit.
She did look like that, like a big fur coat. Like you say, like a big.
Yeah, big old fur coat.
That's what it was.
And if they'd done the hands, that would be fine. If they done but it would be fine. But it's the fact that her hands were still human, like they hadn't done the CGI on her hands. So it really does look like it's Judi Dench wearing a weird cat, like she's killed a cat and skinned it and put it on. And just kind of
it does look like that. She's awful, and she and those awful smiles and stuff are hideous, aren't they? I'll tell you what was one bit that I did find was really, really amusing. I didn't realise was old Ray Winston. He's in it for all of 30 seconds. You know what I mean? He's like, what's going on here then?
He even tries to sing. Imagine Ray Winston singing a song. I mean,
it's awful.
Honestly, I was just watching this going, oh my God, they're making so many bad decisions. There's no pep to it. There's no zip to it. They keep trying to do things that are funny that just don't work, and I was just bored out of my skull. By the time the film ended, and then they get to the bit where it seems like the film was going to end, and then Judi Dench starts speaking and starts singing again, I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, just stop the film.
Stop, that's it, yeah.
So, as you can imagine, I gave it 5 stars. But
yeah, for sure, yeah, definitely. Well deserved.
I don't think it's badly... It's funny because I think if you look at it, I don't think it's badly... Is it weird to say? I don't think it's badly made, but it's just a not good film.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, no. I mean, as I say, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the CGI. I really didn't mind the CGI. After a couple of minutes, you sort of get used to it. So that was fine. Yeah. But it's just the rest of it, just the songs, and and you just felt. But what you were saying about Ian Buchanan, he totally annoyed me. I thought, what are you doing? Because all he did was go, and wring his hands and like, and it's like, oh, you're an actor. You're an actor. You're a theatre cat.
If you're a cat, I'd kick you.
Yeah, I think it's like, and every single thing. I mean, it's like every time that you started seeing a point to what they were doing, they would do something to just totally destroy any goodwill that might be building. Like, edit a dance number badly,
That's it.
I really wanted this film. I went to this film and I was hoping that all the people who were piling on it and talking about how terrible it is were wrong. I was really
but just being a bit mean. But
yeah, I was really hoping they were just being mean. But I don't know.
That's the lowest rating.
Yeah,
we just looked on Sharon's just looked on IMDb or whatever it's called, and it's got a 2.8 rating. 2.8 stars.
It's not loved, is it?
I mean, Tom Hooper, this is the guy who directed The King's Speech. I don't know what happened to him. I really don't know what's happened to him. Oh, good lord. All right, guys, we have a choice to make.
Well, you're going to vote for it though. Did you give? You haven't given us your score.
2 stars. For you, Toast, how many stars?
Okay,
you're going to give it a 3, aren't you?
No. I'm trying to decide. I'm deciding. Go down 1. I'm trying to decide between a 1 or a 2. I'm trying to decide whether a 1 is too
harsh.
It's too harsh, and there's a bit of me that I feel it's a 1, but I think it might be too harsh. I think I have to agree with you as a 2 because, as I said, I do think that there is some technical wizardry on show. I do feel like they have the elements that they could have done something good, but they just pee it away. I'm going to leave it at that. All right, cool. All right, so that's 2 for Cats. And guys, so I think
one more. I guess we got time for one more. To even it up.
We've got time for one more. Then we might need to sort of like come in and do another extra thing if we can find a time where we can all make. So extra one. What do we reckon? 6 Underground or Virgin River?
Well, I'm the only one who's seen Virgin River, so do you want to do 6 Underground?
I can massacre that in like 30 seconds. So
okay, all right. We've had something massacreable on the cinema side, so we should have something massacreable on this on the Netflix side. So yes, let's go 6 Underground now. Sean, Sean. Now, okay.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Okay, let me just say this about 6 Underground now. Generally speaking, we talk about trying to see the whole film before we actually sort of talk about it. Sean, you sent a message that said that you'd seen the first 20 minutes and you just sort of thought this is nonsense. And quite frankly, generally speaking, I would be like, oh no, we have to see the whole film. But I actually think this is a film that's it's fair to judge it on its first 20 minutes.
I mean, I was like, with me like this, he's trying to be, I don't know whether he's trying to be like a serious Deadpool character or whatever like that. And you know me and car chases, and I'm like, it starts off and it's quite intriguing. It's
I was just going to say that Sean is a world-renowned hater of car chases, even if they're good.
Yeah, unless they're good car chases or really short. But I mean,
the opening car chase lasts for 20 minutes. There is a
for goodness sake,
car chase to start this film.
It's nonsensical. It's nonsensical.
Yeah, you want to have your book with you and a head talk, so you can just read it and let that go on, and then catch up with the film after it's over.
And I thought, you know, I mean, the first bit was the very first opening scene, like this aircraft thing, and it says the stuff, and then it goes back to, and so I'll tell you what, I didn't think any of the wisecracks were particularly, you know, like there's those ones he's trying to make like Deadpool-y type. I don't know. It was just awful. It was.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the problem is here, right? Okay, so if you want a storyline, Six Underground, it refers to like there's a guy who is like a sort of Bill Gates kind of Steve Jobs genius technology person. He decides that there needs to be something done with the world, and none of the world leaders are going to do anything about it. So he fakes his own death, and then he goes and recruits a special team of people who are supposed to go around the world and right all the wrongs. That is very, very problematic. It's just so problematic. I mean, the word white savior was yelling in my head throughout this. I was like, what the heck? So you think you have the right to go into somebody else's country and decide who rules that? What the hell? I mean, I mean, the opening car chase of this. So this is Michael Bay. And I feel like that. To be honest with you, Sean, the only way this film makes sense to me is that Netflix went, you know what? Let's do this as an experiment. What happens if you give Michael Bay a whole bunch of money and you don't check up on him and you don't try and give him like, you know, any restrictions? You say, let's just go see what happens when we let Michael Bay loose. And the answer is this film, in which very little makes sense. And he did something like, I mentioned Transformers The Dark Knight, and I don't know what happened to Michael Bay because his early films, Bad Boys, The Rock, Armageddon, are actually good fun. Those are actually good, fun films that you can watch. And I mean, I really like the first Bad Boys movie. I really, really like The Rock. Something. Oh,
are you? What? Yeah. Yeah, you're going to go and watch the sequel then, I guess, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's out next week, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to go see the sequel's Bad Boys for Life, especially because it doesn't have Michael Bay involved. But but something went wrong with him around about the second Transformers movie, where he has just started making things and just crashing things into other things with absolutely no regard for logic or coherence or whether you can understand what's going on. And very similar in the Transformers The Last Night. I remember when we reviewed that and I complained that Mark Wahlberg's character changes from scene to scene. And when I say scene to scene, I mean like in this scene that happens 1 second before the next scene happens, it's like a totally different character. And the same thing happens with Ryan Reynolds in this film, which makes you think it's a Michael Bay problem. Because you have this whole thing where he's 1 second, he's this wisecracking guy who's like, you know, happy-go-lucky, doesn't really care. The next second, he's like talking about, you know, the world's a terrible place and it takes one strong man to take you over and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the heck? Who the hell is this character? and the thing about it is like there is the makings of a good fun popcorn movie in the middle of it. But this and Sean, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me on this, and it will tell you how much. But this makes less sense than a Fast and Furious movie.
Oh my goodness! Oh wow! I thought it would. I mean, I don't very often. I mean, I do try my hardest. I do really, really try my hardest to watch something to the end, you know, because I think you deserve it. With, you know, if there's been a lot of money and things put into it, but I just couldn't. I was just getting more and more annoyed and more. It was agitating me, and I just thought, no, I'm not bothering. I can see where this is going, and it's just, you know, no point in putting myself through torture.
Yeah, no, honestly, the rest of the film, I mean, as I said, it is so problematic. It really, really makes me wonder about Michael Bay's politics, and it's like essentially you're watching the film and you're thinking, hang on a second, this guy, there were bits of this one I was thinking, this guy has no regard for human life. Because in that opening car chase scene, right, there's bits where they're traveling, the flight, is it Venice or Florence? I think it's Florence.
Florence, I think.
They're zooming around Florence in this green Alfa Romeo. They run over pedestrians, and the speeds at which they're going, it is obvious that they have just killed that pedestrian that was not involved in whatever was going on. And the driver of the car, these are supposed to be the good guys. The driver of the car that runs over the pedestrian goes, "Well, I think we can all agree I had the right of way."
Yeah, I know. It's just.
So it's funny, is it?
Well, it's,
Killing people.
they're trying to be, I think.
And when that happened, I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I know. I know.
I was like, what the hell? And then the whole thing about it is the fact that there's this country in some made up country which they try and hide, but it's obviously put in the Middle East, but they try and hide it because they have this thing called the Day of the Dead. So this country is a mishmash of all sorts of things, which once again is another Michael Bay thing, because this is the man who said that Namibia was in West Africa in the last Transformers movie, for which I will never forgive him. But it's like, and so you have this mishmash thing, and it's obviously a country in the Middle East, and you have some white guy who is going to a country in the Middle East and decides that person is better to rule this country than this person, and the whole plot of the film is trying to replace that guy with, and I'm like, how the hell did you think this was okay? Oh, good Lord. So it's a very, very problematic film. I think as a science experiment, as a sort of morbid science experiment of what happens when you give Michael Bay millions of dollars and you tell him to just be Michael Bay, it has some value in that. But I think it's something that I look at and say, at least now, what Netflix has done for us is that they've answered the question, is like, do we want to see Michael Bay being total Michael Bay without anybody holding him back? The answer is no.
No, that's it. That's the answer.
We need to get Jerry Bruckheimer to give him some breaks.
As I say, I don't know. Am I allowed to give this a rating, as I haven't seen the whole thing?
Sean, I
think you're allowed.
Yeah, I think you are allowed.
Okay. Well, the rating for me
I will make a change this one time.
An exception.
This one time. I'd say you are allowed.
Okay. Well, it would have to be a 1. I couldn't go any more than that.
A 1.
A 1, yeah.
Having gone all the way to the end of the film, I'll say I'll give it a 2, but mainly because of the supporting characters who don't really get to do much, like Melanie Laurent. She's actually quite good in it. You feel like there's something to that character if you know.
Which one was that? There was, because I know in the car chase there was
she's the blonde
there was like a doctor one and a blonde one.
Yeah, so she's the blonde one who used to be a CIA operative. Yeah.
Oh, right. So she was the one that got wounded then, yeah?
Yeah. And
okay.
And the other woman as well, I quite like her. Oh, what's her name? I know her last name is Arjo or something like. I can't remember.
Adria.
Yeah, Adria
Arjona.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
She's quite good as well. She's quite good as well. And Corey Hawkins. Corey Hawkins has something to his character, but you can see, like, I think that was something that Michael Bay was like, yeah, that's actually some acting. Nah, blow something up. I mean, the cinematography is good. The film looks great. There's some stunning shots. There's a picture of Adriana in this green dress, but with a pink gas mask on, and I just love that shot. But the film is not worthy of it, so I would give it a 2, having watched it all the way to the end. But
okay, cool.
But quite frankly, if somebody was going to give it a 1, I would not begrudge I would not begrudge them that. I would actually love my brother to watch this film, because my brother is kind of like, if things blow up, that's his kind of film. And
right.
Yeah. So
basically, it just makes you wonder with Bay whether he just likes to do a load of action sequences and just put them in anywhere, and see.
Well, the thing is, I think that's. To be honest with you, I really think that's what's happening to Michael Bay. I think he has somehow regressed to the worst version of himself. It's a bit like the John Wick films. The first one, quite cool, quite taut. But as the John Wick films go on, they become a bit woollier and all that kind of stuff, and just action.
They do. You're right.
Yeah. But the saving grace of the John Wick films is that at least in the action scenes, you can still tell what's going on. It's still the action scenes are very, very well done. But this thing is, they're edited in such a way so that they don't make sense. And it's kind of like as if he had, and it's a bit like if you give a kid a whole bunch of sugar and they say, tell me what ideas you want. Okay, yeah, then there's going to be knives and there's going to be magnets and then things going to go and then, no, wait. Oh, no, now the magnets have become mushrooms and the mushrooms are going to turn into a robot and the robot's going to grab this guy, it's going to rip him in half. And that's what the action scenes are like. Honestly, it's like one shot to the next shot. He's changed his mind. It really is like, but anyway, I love Netflix for giving the guy money to do this, because, as I've said a little bit with Cats, I think there's few things. Some of the films I've enjoyed reviewing the most are the ones I really, really don't like. And I don't know. There's something perverse about it, but there's something in me that just really enjoys reviewing a film that I really, really did not like. So if people are going to make films that I really don't like, I'm going to be happy because I'm going to enjoy reviewing it. So
it's just a pity you have to go through the pain of watching it first.
I don't know. I'm a bit philosophical about it. I'm like, it's life. It's life. It's what happens. You go through the pain of watching it, and you realize that it wasn't worth it. But in the end, you had fun ripping it apart. It's like I remember one of my favorite film watching experiences was a film called Best of the Best 3. And I remember because we watched this on VHS, and we all just sat down there and we ripped it out of this film from beginning to the end. And it was just glorious. It was just amazing. But anyway, now I think I've got to let you guys go because, as you can see, we've ended up with 2 films that I can complain about for like 24 hours straight. And all there's left to say is who has won this week, even though it's been truncated.
Oh.
What do you guys?
I think it is close.
It is very close. It is very close. What do you guys reckon? Who do you reckon's won?
I reckon Cinema by 0.32%.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Sharon, what are you saying?
No, I was just saying, I agree. I think the Cinema might have just pipped it.
Yeah, you're both right. Cinema just pipped it, and Sean, you're pretty close. Cinema has got 3.3 stars in average, and Netflix this week has got 3.16, 3.17 if you round it up. Yeah. So pretty close. So this week it is a Cinema to kick off. Well, that might be good. We might have a good year at the cinema, guys. Cinema.
Yeah, we could do with one.
I mean, last year was pretty good. I mean, last year had some good stuff. It also had some rubbish, but I think pretty much a lot of the blockbusters did not work. But yeah. All right, we will try and figure out some time to bring you reviews of The Gentleman, Spies in the Skies, Virgin River, His Dark Materials. Oh my God, so much. But until the next time we're actually about to do that, it's a goodbye from me.
A goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Cool. Thank you very much. We will see you next week.
See you later.